Welcome back guys to another Odyssey video. As you know, Blacksmith reloading is by far the fastest way and absolutely essential if you want to get perfect gear in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. But I totally understand that this was still taking too much time for many people to make a perfect build. So I found a way to get perfect gear in every single inventory, and it will take you no longer than 10 minutes to make a perfect build. But before that, I have to briefly show you again what Blacksmith reloading is before I show you how we can extremely optimize our odds. Blacksmith reloading is by far the best method to get perfect gear in Assassin's Creed Odyssey because it lets you check a vast amount of items at the same time. If you go to random blacksmith, he will have over 30 items and at least 1 to 4 items of the item type you are looking for. And there are even spots with 2 blacksmiths next to each other. So you have the opportunity to actually check over 100 items at the same time with just one reload of your save file. And if you simply can't find anything, you reload your save file and check it again, because they will always have a different set of 100 items to show you. It is very important to know that the first time you meet a blacksmith, he will only have one inventory. Then every time you look at their inventory, they will lose one, and every time you level up, they will gain another inventory until they have a maximum stack of 2. So if you do the blacksmith reloading for the first time, make sure you use a blacksmith, for example the one on Kefalonia, which you have already encountered earlier in your game. Because only the ones you have already spoken to will have 2 inventories when you meet them again. When you compare the blacksmith reloading to looting random gear from defeated enemies, you will actually realize that you can only get 1 item every 15 seconds, which is far less than the items you can immediately check at any blacksmith. And on top of that, the game has 12 different item types, so you only have a chance of 1 to 12 to actually find the item type you're actually looking for. That is why blacksmith reloading is over 30 times faster, and you will actually never find any perfect gear from random looted enemies. The real reason for looting all the gear is actually to sell it for money and materials, but not for finding good gear. But even with a perfect setup, blacksmith reloading can take you up to 35 minutes on average to find your perfect epic gear. But there are some situations where you will actually find perfect gear in every single inventory, and I will show you how to do that. If you want to get a perfect epic item, you actually have 3 options for the first engraving and then around 15 to 20 options for the second one and for the third one. But because the third engraving cannot be the same as the second one, you have actually 1 less option there. So we will put 3 multiplied with 20 multiplied with 19, and that will give you the sum of over 1100 possible combinations. But that is not the entire truth, because there is actually 6 possible item types which will give you exactly the same item, because you only need to get 2 out of the bottom 3 engravings, and you can engrave the third one on your own. So there's actually 6 possible items that will actually be exactly the same. So we have to divide this number by 6. That will improve your chance to be around 1 to 200. So you actually have to check around 200 items until you find your perfect epic gear of any type you want. By checking 8 items every minute at the blacksmith, this will roughly take you 35 minutes on average. However, sometimes you only have 2 possible combinations, and that is always the case when you put a legendary engraving on this gear, because then you actually only have 2 possible combinations. The second and third engraving can only change positions. There is no complementation that you can actually make by putting another engraving in. You have to put a legendary engraving on it, and that lowers your chance to be only 1 to 600. So for example, on perfect epic weapons or perfect epic gear where you place a legendary engraving on, you will have a much lower chance to find them, and it will take you 3 times longer than usual. You can do that of course way faster if you just look for every item at the same time. Then it will only take you as much time as the longest item to find. So if the longest item to find took you around 1 hour, then finding all the pieces for a set would take you 1 hour, because you would have found everything else before, and 1 hour was just the longest item it took. But what if we only look for half perfect items, which only have 1 perfect engraving? For example, warrior damage plus crit chance, or warrior damage plus critical damage. The odds are extremely better for getting this one, because we only have to multiply 3 options for warrior hunter assassin with 20 options for the third engraving, and we completely ignore the third one. That means we will have 60 options in total. And since we have 2 positions on which the second engraving can occur, and we can actually still engrave an engraving on our own, we can actually divide this by 4 to get a perfect item with 2 perfect engravings. So we have a chance of 1 to 15 to find a perfect epic gear with only 1 missing engraving. That means you will find this item in less than 2 minutes. And even if you want to put a legendary engraving under it, the odds don't change much. That still means you have a chance of 1 to 30, and still means you will find this in less than 4 minutes. And since an epic item with one ignored engraving is actually as strong as a perfect rare item, we can even do it faster. Because rare items have a higher chance to appear at Blacksmith as long as you didn't reach Mercenary tier S3. Before you reach that, Blacksmith will have around 3 blue items in every inventory for every type. It actually means that you will have a perfect rare item every time you open any Blacksmith inventory. There is a 90% chance of one perfect rare item to be available. Of course, you won't have perfect epic items when you do that, but you will have perfect rare items within only 1 minute. Which is a total game changer, because rare items are just as good as legendary items, because legendary items also have only a maximum set of 3 engravings, and most of the time a set bonus, which is totally useless anyway. And on perfect epic items we often only use the last spot to engrave another 20% warrior damage or another 20% assassin damage, and that is the only thing we would actually lose. It is not the color which makes an item good, and it is also not the DPS value which makes an item good, because the DPS values are the same anyway. It is always just the engravings which are on your gear. It will be extremely easy, way faster, and cost you absolutely no money compared to using epic items or even purchased legendary items. A perfect rare item which you can get in less than 1 minute will be just as powerful as the best legendary store items which Ubisoft wants you to pay money for. And of course, it will cost way less to upgrade and will make it extremely easy to make a perfect build early on. And the crazy thing is that you will get these items even faster during early game as long as you haven't reached Mercenary tier S3. This is actually so crazy that within only 10 minutes you will get a set of perfect rare items that will make you a build that is just as strong as the best perfect epic builds, with over 276,000 warrior damage and 750,000 assassin damage, 100% crit chance and 600% critical damage. And if we complement this build with some easy lootable items such as Hater's Harp, the Sword of Action, or even the Stolen Isobracers, we can make this easily reach 300,000 warrior damage with 100% crit chance and 600% critical damage, with absolutely no effort and absolutely no grind. You just have to make sure that you pick the correct engravings on your rare items. There will be perfect items in every single inventory, you just have to buy the correct ones. However, to get these crazy builds, it is still important to set your priorities on which engravings are more important than others, especially if you drop one. If you prioritize weapon damage over crit chance and crit chance over critical damage, it actually can't go wrong. Make sure to get your weapon damage engravings on your weapons, on your headgear, on your torso, on your boots, and then look for crit chance engravings, and after that you go for the critical damage if there's even room for it. Because you can totally afford to have like 100 or 200 critical damage less, but you definitely want to have your weapon damage because it is a much stronger engraving than critical damage. I'm already working on the build videos to show you all the pieces you need, so stay tuned for the next videos and don't forget to subscribe, leave me a like, and see you next time.